Hello! Today's video is all about Campanella style picking on the ukulele. Now if you're looking to understand what this concept is, maybe how to apply it to your own playing, as well as to work on a couple exercises that utilizes it, you're in the right place with this video. To start, let's talk about what the term campanella actually means. It's actually Italian for little bell. And the bell as a musical instrument is sort of unique in that every bell just plays a single note. And to play the bells, really what happens is you have people lined up kind of in a row, each in charge of only a couple notes to be played. And when that bell is rang, it continues to ring as the next bell is rang, creating this really wonderful cascading effect with the notes, where all the notes sort of blend into each other. The note that was just played continues to ring and resonate while the next note is played, and that's what we refer to as a campanella effect musically. A harp is a really good example to play that campanella style, or a piano with the pedal down, where all those notes can just really ring into each other. The ukulele is actually a great instrument to play campanella style because we have 4 strings. That actually gives us the opportunity to play notes over those 4 strings to kind of ring into each other. Now we're going to start by taking a look at a little bit of an exercise here. Know that this works with both high G and low G ukulele to start. We'll be talking about some high G specific things at the end of the video. But let's go ahead and take a look at this example, and it looks something like this. And you'll notice that this example is essentially just a C major scale going down to an E note. And if I play what's listed here on the tab, it sounds something like this. Now that sounds nice and all, but it's very singular, isn't it? And that's because every single note that I'm playing is going to just go down to the next lowest version as I go through. I'm going to start on the A string, and then I'm going to play that A string 3 straight times before playing the E string 3 straight times before finally closing out with a C, E, C, right? Now that doubling, or in this case tripling up on the same string, is exactly what we want to avoid with our campanella style, because when I play this first note, the 3 on the A, which is a C note, and then I play the second note, the 2 on the A, which is a B note, well, they don't both ring at the same time. My first note is played, and it stops to facilitate my second note to be played. So what we do is we start to map the notes over the fretboard in a way where we never have to play the same string twice in a row. And that's the trick to this campanella effect. And so that same line looks something like this now, using some basic campanella style. So I'm going to play that same C note, the 3 on the A right here. But now instead of going to the B note on the 2nd fret on the A string, I'm instead going to go to the 7th fret of the E. Now this seems much more difficult because, well, it is substantially more complicated. But if you can start getting the stretch with these fingers, playing the 3 on the A and then the 7 on the E allows you to play these notes into each other to create that bell-like campanella effect. It becomes very obvious when we start to incorporate more notes. Because you see, after we play the 7 on the E for our B note, the A note, I'm going to play my open A. So I'm going to open that index finger off the A string and play that. And you can hear, by playing the A, then the E, then the A again, and letting the notes ring until we move them, we get this beautiful, rich, bell-like sound. And it only improves as we continue from here, because after we play that open A, we're going to play the 3 on the E string. Then normally we play the 1 on the E next, but instead this time we're going to map it to a different string, because we just played the E string here on 3. So instead we're going to play the 5 on the C string. And then we're going to play the open E string. And then we're going to play the C string on the 2nd fret, the open E again, and the open C now. What you'll notice is when you look at this line, no 2 strings are played consecutively in a row. This is so that we can avoid having those notes be stunted and allow them to ring into each other with that sort of campanella effect. Now, this is kind of tricky. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's a bit of a stretch, but it sounds something like this for reference. Here it is with the campanella. And just for reference, here it is again without the campanella. You can really hear with this that the campanella effect is increasing the sustain because the notes are ringing longer, and more because you don't have to stop one note ringing to play the next note. And this is why really good players will use this campanella effect with their arrangements to create that richness as they go through. Now, if you'd like to download a tab that's shown on screen, be sure to check out my Patreon page, where I also have a bunch of different exercises with this that are a lot of fun to play. But what's really important is when you're working on this and you're getting comfortable going between the strings, is starting to identify that not every ukulele does this technique equally well. I mentioned earlier that this works on both high G and low G right now. However, the next layer that we're going to take a look at is really high G centric. And in fact, I think the high G ukulele tuning is the best for campanella style playing because of the proximity that this G note has to the other strings. Because the G is located right in between the E and the A in terms of pitch on a high G, it allows you to do some really rich, unique campanella exercises and sounds as you're going through. Let's go ahead and take a look at the third example now using the high G. And it's not a big difference, but it's just enough to be able to create a different type of sound. So now we're going to start, same deal, play the 3 on the A, then the 7 on the E, and then the open on the A. But now's when it changes. Instead of playing 3 on the E for that G note that we played earlier, we're instead going to play open on the G. The reason is very simple. We can. Having a high G string allows that G note to be played here. And what's so cool about that is now we can have 3 strings ringing all at once by doing this. At the time this G string is played, my A string is still ringing from the open A, and my E string is even still ringing just a little bit from that 7 on the E. As I continue, it's basically the same thing from here on out. Same little exercise because it doesn't go below that open G on the G, right? Can't play anything below on that G string. But just having that open G with this opens this sound up so much. You can hear it almost sounds like I have some sort of reverb on my ukulele. And the reason for that is I do. It's the strings all ringing. Right now my E, my A, and my G can all kind of be ringing together because of that campanella style that's being introduced. And so all that you need to do to start incorporating campanella into your everyday playing is look at melody lines you're playing, maybe in chord melody arrangements. And if you have 2 notes consecutively on the same string, start to look, can I put it on a different string? Can I put that same note somewhere else? It's very likely you can, in which case you can start to add that campanella sound to your own playing. Something that I really suggest is if you're very interested in campanella style playing, my favorite book is this one right here, Jumpin' Jim's Ukulele Masters, John King. Even if you don't get this book, check out John King here on YouTube and wherever else. John King was a true master of this campanella style, and what's so cool about John King's stuff is he would play classical music using this campanella style, and it's just beautiful to play just a little bit of his Bach arrangement, just a bit. It sounds something like this. It's this beautiful sound. And the reason it works so well is because the melody notes are mapped to multiple strings. So I highly suggest that book if you've never seen it before, if you're wanting more campanella style. And if you're interested in classical campanella, I actually did an arrangement of Moonlight Sonata, which will link right over here. And there's a tab available for that on my Patreon page as well. It also uses that same sort of campanella style to create that rich sound as you're going through. It's using those strings to play over each other so that you can get that bell-like tone as you're going with your ukulele playing. So there is a very basic crash course on Campanella style playing. Again, if you want to dive more into this technique and try it yourself, check out the links down below. There's a whole bunch of different exercises and content, and check out John King. He was the master of this style. And this book is really what I, attribute a lot of my thought process with Campanella playing to. Well, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I hope this has helped understand a little bit more of this Campanella style for you, and I hope these exercises and examples give you some stuff to work on. Thank you so much. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon.